Welcome back from our break, and we have Water Department. If you folks could introduce yourselves for the people at home.
I'm Glenn Smith, Water Superintendent.
Ryder Bombingen, Water Commissioner.
All right, welcome. Welcome. Okay, so we have in front of us the personnel, and then we have the budget submittal. Is there anything else that, are we missing anything else from them at this point or not?
Well, as Glenn said when we were away, we don't have all the indirect costs yet.
Okay, okay. All right, okay, why don't you tell us about your changes this year?
Well, we've got a few changes. We've tried to keep the budget level funded. Our chemical costs go up. The state is requiring now that all of our brass be lead-free. So our costs of brass and meters and all are probably going to jump by about a third. Our chemical costs, we're just getting into going out to bid for those. We're in a consortium of 40 towns. We pool all our resources for each town, and we go out to bid for a large amount of chemicals, and then we can each buy our chemicals at a greatly reduced cost from what we could if we were going on our own.
Where's chemicals in this, what line item are chemicals in?
Chemicals are in the treatment. Line item 21.
Okay, so where are they in this, Mike?
We don't,
They don't have.
You don't have that.
We don't have
You
that.
have the other
Right.
one.
do we,
Hang on a minute.
It's gotta be an energy supplies.
Just other
Or other
supply, energy
supplies,
supplies, no. It would be other supplies, I would think.
Yeah,
probably.
that's what they have.
127,045 is other supplies on ours.
Yes. With this new format, the treatment plant has gotten divided up into different areas. The old format, the treatment was all on one line, made it a little easier. Our chemical costs, yes, are in other supplies, $85,000 just for chemicals. I'm trying to get used to this new format.
we all are.
we are
As are we.
Under energy supplies, what's that big house?
Energy supplies is our electric costs. Every gallon of water that's pumped out of the ground gets pumped from 10 to 30 feet below ground level to the top of the water tank. And that's the energy cost, along with some other smaller energy costs, our regular electric, our chemical feed pumps, and that kind of thing. But the big nut is there's a 100 horsepower electric motor at Marshall's. There's a 75 horsepower electric motor at Duffy's, and there's a 40 horsepower electric motor at the Commissioner's Well. And each one of those is running whenever we're pumping water through the treatment plant up to the towers and out into the distribution system.
Could I ask Glenn a question? When we were looking at the ESCO project, and
Yes.
they identified various energy conservation measures, and instead of waiting for the ESCO to go, I think it was your department's decision to go it alone.
We did.
And you were gonna institute a lot of these variable speed motors.
Variable frequency drives so that you're, and with the Marshall Station upgrade, we installed a variable frequency drive on that 100 horsepower motor so that we're only putting out the amount of energy that we need to pump the amount of water that we're pumping. Marshall Station is an older station. We've bought the drive for it, but to make the changeover, is a little more difficult because of we're trying to match the new technology with the old technology. In order for us to slow down the flow rate out of the commissioner's well, at this point, we actually have to turn the valves down and choke back the discharge. At Marshall Station, we can set a flow rate, and the variable frequency drive will match that flow rate and only put out the power that we're using. And we bought a similar drive for the Duffy's well, but we're having trouble with the power at Duffy's, and we don't want to put a new $10,000 drive on the wall and blow it up with power issues, because we're not sure whether it's internal or external. It happens infrequently. We had the electric company put a recorder on the line, and we haven't had an issue since.
Oh, why would you? Being watched.
So,
In regards to salaries, what percentage is this increase?
it's 2.5% for those of us that are non-contract, and it's 4% for the contract. They're in the third year of a 3-year contract.
So has it started negotiations? I know you can't say
No.
anything. Okay.
Is there a reason why, and I know negotiations with the board, is there a reason why that you guys continue to go above and beyond what the rest of the town is with percentages for the contract, for the union employees? Because even the schools are coming down, because just because it's an enterprise fund doesn't mean it should be something that is not in line with all the other town employees, because we are one organization.
I'd like to address it a little bit in that one of the reasons that we have the caliber of crew that we have and the longevity that we have is because of the salary rates that we have here in Georgetown. A lot of other towns around us are going through a lot of flux in that they don't have enough operators, and their operator turnover is quite rapid.
And the operators are maintenance craftsmen?
Operators are maintenance craftsmen, and our laborer with the D1 and D2.
Okay.
Our assistant superintendent and myself were all licensed to operate the systems.
What's up with the consultant engineer? Because last year you had one, but the report was insufficient, or it wasn't done, and then we were hiring somebody else.
We hired somebody else. We've hired AECom engineers. We've done through them extensive testing of the system outside the treatment plant and the raw water that we're getting into the treatment plant, and recommendations from AECom engineers believe that some of the proposals that we had for trying to fix the treatment plant aren't going to work with the water that we have coming into the treatment plant. One of the proposals that we're looking at is this summer they're going to pilot test 2 different types of treatment, and the one change that's on your second sheet, we were looking at $200,000 increase in our capital funding.
We don't have a capital
Okay,
sheet. That's going to be.
we're going to be looking at $175,000 instead.
And is AECom also doing capital planning out? Because the other engineer is supposed to be doing a long-term capital plan.
The other engineer did a long-term capital plan, but it didn't appear to include things that really needed to be done.
Okay, so when can we get some reports on that? I'd like to say, I mean, this is nice, this is 1 year, I would really like to see out at least 5 years, because you
Yes.
look at what your
Yeah.
capital's doing, look at what you're really trying to do capital-wise and how it's affecting the rates. And really starting to look at, you know, as opposed to all of a sudden, oh, here we go, we have another project, oh, this one's gonna cost 175. Do you have anything like that? Do you guys have a
Yeah.
report?
We built the capital plan based on what we were looking at from the other engineer. And now it's only slightly modified from what we had previously submitted. We're still looking at water main improvements. We're still looking at the probability of a new water tank in the future. We're looking at the probability of a different type of treatment as opposed to just trying to Band-Aid the treatment system that we have. And that's been the big change.
And are you planning anything for Elm Street, once they rip up the street, to do all the repairs and any upgrades that are necessary?
We're planning on the upgrades on Elm Street to loop the water main for the school. Right now, the water line for the school is a big, long, dead end. And as a lot of people in town know, we have odor issues. And that long, dead end just intensifies the odor issues. So we're hoping to loop that through the emergency access road back onto Elm Street, and then modify the operation of Elm Street's water main so that we get flow past the school instead of it being down a long dead end.
Right, well, that's the opportunity, once
We're
you open
also-
up the road, to do that.
We're also looking at improvements to the West Street Pine Plain intersection, taking out the 6-inch water line that's in that intersection because the highway department, along with the culvert on West Street, the bridge on West Street, is going to repave the road all the way back to Pine Plain. So as part of that project, we're having that intersection redone with new water mains.
Okay.
And under the culvert, we're having a sleeve put in so we can put a new water main under the culvert when the time arises that we replace the water main in West Street.
Okay. Do you have, is there a report that you have all of this laid out in for future debt? If you're gonna have any debt, or what the plans are, how you're gonna pay for all this? Do you have a
With-
5 to
with
10 year,
slight-
do you have a
with-
5
with-
to 10 year plan?
Yeah.
Okay,
But it just got modified
yep, okay. Can you send that to us?
last week.
Yeah, can you send that to us? Or email it to Mike, and Mike can send it on to us?
Yeah. You want it modified or the one that I gave?
I'd like
Last year.
the updated one to see where we are right now, so we can sit there and take a look at what the long-term plan is for the water
Okay.
department. That'd be
Let's
good.
see where we're at.
Yep.
Our long-term plan right now is to improve the water quality that throughout the system, and the water that we have coming into the plant and the water that's going out of the plant is, we're removing all of the iron, we're removing all of the manganese. We've had to modify the way the plant runs. But we have an organic compound that's eating up the chlorine and causing us an odor problem. And the treatment plant that we have will not remove it. It will not remove sulfates. It will not remove the organics.
Right, but, and so with the complaints about the water quality, I mean, it just, to fix these things is gonna cost money.
It's gonna cost money.
It's gonna cost money, so I think we really need to see a long-term projection to see how it's actually, what your plan is for, and how it's gonna affect the rates, as opposed to all of a sudden, I don't think it's, good idea to the public, all of a sudden, boom,
Right.
your rates have gone up, and there's no, and you can't see. I mean, this doesn't tell us anything about how, what you're planning on for, planning on using out of retained earnings, or planning on using out of, for debt and all that other stuff. So yeah, if you can get that modified and get it to Mike, so Mike can get it to us to review,
Sure.
we greatly appreciate it. Other questions? No other questions? Wow, you're not getting beaten up that bad this year.
Thank you.
Mike, you all set?
I am.
Great, thank you very much.
This is the end of a 2-week
Tim
something.
was sick for a week. ZBA.
2-week something, 2.5 week. I'm tired.
Tim was sick for a month.
I think that
Well, that's
feels
a
like it's
heavy-
coming
that's a
back
heavy
today, not
cost.
going away.
A landline, isn't it $2,700?
Welcome, if you folks could introduce yourselves.
There is separate-
I'm Patty Patari, I'm the zoning
No, it's not.
administrative assistant for the
Great.
board.
And Paul Schillen, chairman of the board.
Welcome,
Thank you.
welcome. Do you folks know everybody here because you didn't come in at the morning
I do
introductions?
not.
I don't.
I do.
Okay, all right, this is Ed Doby,
Hi.
Jim Lacy, Robin O'Malley, and
Hi.
Sandy Garrity, Nazreen Fanoof, Reggie Tardif, and Mike Farrell.
Hi.
And I don't know if you, do you know Gary?
Sure.
One of our selectmen?
Yeah, we know that.
Okay, great, yeah.
Gary, you've been awfully quiet today.
Yeah.
We appreciate you
Is he
coming.
wa- Is he waiting for this afternoon's?
Maybe.
He's just getting revved up.
He's just getting revved up. All righty, where are we? What tab are we on?
ZBA 13.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, tell us about what's happening in your department.
We have on that first sheet, that includes the 2.5 increase per mic. We now have an expense line item back. Last year, Mike was kind enough to help us with the past 5 years of data of spending, and we came up with that amount, which has helped for supplies. We broke down for supplies, phone, and postage.
Okay.
So it's helped in that not all of that is coming out of the revolving account. So we've actually, the first year since 2004 that we have spent, we have taken in more than we've spent right
Oh.
now by $1,000 in revolving, because with every other year in the revolving history, we've always spent more than we've taken in. So this line item, having that back helped, because we did have a line item back in '03, and that was like a $3,000 expense line item that was just,
So you're talking
We
about
had
the
a-
$860?
yep.
Okay.
It's helped. I mean, it's not gonna
It's-
cover everything. I mean, we're gonna be, I mean, we still have the revolving account, so it doesn't need to. Out of that 860, we have 189.42 left, and that will go all to telephone from now until June 3rd.
Okay. How are, so you, why, your revenues are up then?
I'm sorry?
So your revenues are up from that?
Yes.
Are you
And that-
expecting, and are you expecting them to be up, stay up?
Yes.
Is it,
with-
is
with
that the economy, basically?
It's the building inspector.
The building inspector.
It's having a good building inspector. He,
She doesn't even work for him, isn't that nice?
basically, well, actually, he's the zoning enforcement officer,
Right.
so he you kind of work together. And when someone comes in, whether they want to do something, and he
Yep.
goes by the code and says, you can't do this, and by the bylaw. He's good, and he's keeping me busy.
Good. Now, in regards to the permit program, where are you guys on the?
Permit tracking,
Yeah,
I haven't, I know a couple people have gone for training, but I haven't heard anything.
but they're eventually going on that too, aren't they?
Everybody will be,
Everybody,
yes.
okay. All right.
Patty hasn't had the training yet.
Okay.
I'll wait for that, and then, you know, ArcView, like Howard said, we have it, but we don't have it yet. I use that. Pictometry, I went to that training, which is different. It's pictometry online. But the ArcView will be helpful, because the ArcView, I get to look at, zoning deals with water resource and floodplain. And right now, if you look at my map, or I used to be able to pull up everything from ArcView, and I can't look at it anymore. So, but my map is, and then there's new FEMA maps, so it's a little confusing. But that'll be great when we get the ArcView put in. It was on a J drive before. Merrimack Valley had, at least mine was on a J drive, and that J drive is gone. Just when you pull down the shared directories, it's,
For ArcView?
yeah, it was on the
Yeah,
J
they-
drive.
They don't support it anymore.
Ah,
They replaced it with my map. basically.
Okay. But, I mean, that's basically all we have is the payroll wage line item.
Yep.
And the expense line item in the revolving account. And we're not asking for anything new, any increases or anything, except for what, you know,
And the 18 hours is still sufficient?
it's helping, it's
Because
some.
you were down to what, 10?
I was 10 3/4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was at the point where I was, you know, doing stuff at home a lot.
Well, I would think that once the permit tracking is up, is that gonna help alleviate some pressure from manual work?
I don't know. I can't
Because
answer that.
John said it's helped John in building to be able, if people looking for reports and things like that. He said that to us last week.
Right.
Yeah, he's
And he'll come in, someone will come in with an electrical, any permit, and they go right in the computer and they put it in that way. I'm a little different in that, basically my database, and we talked about this some years ago, is a drawer full of going back to 1955 index cards. Since I've been there, it's on the computer, so since 2001, I have everything in folders in the computer.
Right.
But anything further back than that, I don't know how or if it's possible to get all that information into this permit tracking system. I don't know if it's that kind of a database. I think it's just tracking what departments have what permits and what, you can flag them for this is, you know, they're seeing planning and then they gotta go to zoning, or they gotta, I don't know how it'll work with me. I'm not sure.
No, I don't see a lot of efficiency created. It's just, it's gonna be able to track the permits going forward.
Yeah.
It's not designed for going backwards.
Okay. Is that something that we should look at, trying to do? Would that be beneficial or not?
I don't know, I mean, right now, if someone comes in, basically someone comes to the window. They wanna purchase this property. So I need to see if I have an index card for it. If I do, it has a file number on it. If it's from 1964, I have to go down in the archives and find it.
As all.
And that's what everybody does,
Right,
yeah.
no, right.
Building does it, you know, so.
If it's anything past the 2000s,
Whatever we-
it's dead storage.
Yeah, whatever we can't fit upstairs is all downstairs.
How often does that happen?
A lot.
So that would be my question.
3-4
We
times a
invested in the permit. Now, is there another thing that we should be looking at investing, a CIP item or something going forward to start getting historical data electronically?
Well, yes, and CIP has been, there is some funding from CIP for historical archival of the records.
Digitizing archival records.
Yes, but they were talking about, back in the 1800s and going forward. And so
can't we
it doesn't
start
have,
counting
I was just
back?
saying, can't we start with
doesn't have
1960 or
much
19...
practical,
Yeah.
practical
Yeah.
application.
No,
And
Is
you
that
don't-
CIP or is that CPC?
that was CPC.
Oh,
That's, yeah, CPC,
sorry.
right, okay.
And the biggest problem is, we can have all the money in the world to digitize things, we don't have the staff to do it.
We have to hire somebody.
Hire some- That's what I'm thinking of a contractor, or, you
Yeah.
know.
Are there companies that do this?
there's gotta be.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, if that, that would, I would think
mean-
that would make a big difference.
I mean,
to people if
basically
they
what
don't
I
have
do
to
now,
go to
though,
the
is-
Basement all the time.
Everybody going down. It's
Yeah.
not just.
Is when I go down, I take that file up, so now I have it. I make sure I pull that decision, give it to whoever, but I scan it, and then now I start saving them. So now I have some of them on the computer, but that's just random, but I'd like to be able to go down there and take the whole drawer and go through them. I don't have time to do that.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking. I mean, it's
yeah.
just maybe, not for this fiscal year, but maybe that's something to look into, to find out if that, as we go through the process of CIP next year, or whether it be something, if there's, to put money in the budget to actually start working towards that.
And that's with everybody, someone will come in to look at a building file.
That's what I'm saying, for everybody. I mean, it's just,
The
it's,
archives,
right.
and so they want the whole history of that house that they're potentially purchasing. So they want to see what permits were pulled for building, if there was a zoning issue for a variance, if it went through planning, if the part of the subdivision, maybe the house was an OSRD or what it was, and
Yeah.
so everybody's running down, up and down.
So the
stairs.
archives, that's the only copies. There's no backups or anything of those. If there was a natural disaster or something, they're
Well,
all
yeah,
gone.
We've lost some stuff in there a little bit over the years. I think didn't we have a flood way back?
I don't know, was it the flood or was it during
Septic.
the rehab of this building?
Well, that's
That-
the one we
that
had
too.
the station downstairs and it flooded out.
Yeah.
The police station was down where that stuff is,
Yeah,
yeah.
Because
They did have a problem.
there's drawers on the
years ago,
bottom.
yeah.
Part in the basement.
Yeah.
I don't even want to open them sometimes.
Yes, but to your point, yeah.
Yeah, that's
it's- That's it.
It seems kind of a scary situation.
Yep, and that's why I'm wondering what, as we're looking at things,
We need to look back.
we need to also look back and start figuring
Yeah,
out,
yeah, I would think
going
so.
forward. Gary, you have a question?
Well, the selectmen were considering increasing the elderly tax work hours. I don't know if there's something perhaps there that might be an avenue to think of. We're thinking of
I-
doubling that budget. Of course, I know that requires supervision also, so that's.
I did talk to
the other
Colleen,
part,
because she did have some people up. She just didn't have me on the list. But I did talk to her, and she just said, well, I don't want anybody, they're over a certain age, and I don't want anybody, she knows what it's like in the basement, but if they have to, our files in a strange way. Everything was just thrown in there when we moved back into the building. So it's kind of just,
Unorganized.
she doesn't want anybody to get,
Subcontract- you need to
it's,
get a contractor and just do it.
it's a lot of heavy lifting too. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you're gonna take them out one by one, but they're jammed in there. These cabinets are jammed. I mean,
Get molded,
to get one,
Yeah.
Right, exactly. You gotta
So I get, yeah.
so she's kind of like,
Well,
I don't want anybody to get,
I did have a consultant come in and give me a price for organizing what's there now,
Okay.
putting it on racks and shelves. He said, he could probably consolidate everything and index it to about a third of its present size. It was reasonable. It's $4,000 or $5,000. I mean
not bad.
that as
I don't think that's bad.
I see as a good first step.
Yeah.
right, because
yeah.
ultimately the goal
I mean-
would be to get it electronically, right?
Going
It's
directly to
just to organize it.
electronic is
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
somebody's
Organize
gonna
it
somebody's
first.
gonna have to organize it so
Yeah.
we know what.
Right, so if it gets
and-
organized
So
first.
organize
Patty
one
knows-
year and then think about digitizing it
Right.
the
Yeah,
next.
Patty
thing.
knows where her stuff is, and Janet knows where her stuff
Right.
is, but nobody knows where
Or
other
anything
people's
else is,
stuff
right.
is.
Yeah, it was organized actually not too bad before we renovated town hall. I mean, when
Right.
I was working for building, I'm just gonna say around 98, the building plans were kept in, we purchased building plan drawers, that the plans lay flat, so they're not rolled up, they're not filed up and shoved in
Right.
those cabinets, because they don't fit. And after we moved, you pull out the plan drawers, there's nothing in there, so they must have maybe in moving fallen out, and the guys just picked them up and rolled them up and they're gone. in there.
They're rolled up now.
They're all rolled up and you don't know what they are, you have to unroll them to see what's there. So evidently they all must have fell out, because they're cardboard drawers, but they were nice and organized.
Is it, make sense at all to have, a part of Patty's job description at one point was to start to go back through this information, and specifically, the board is concerned about accessory apartments that we've been granting over the past 15 years. Are they really anymore? Probably not. It's interesting because people, when they refinance and things like that, they're beginning to get tripped up on that now. But it's still pretty easy to slide by selling a property and then they have an illegal apartment there. And we've been getting a lot of those lately. Because of the economy, a lot of people are moving in with their
Right.
children and stuff. If things start to get better, what will happen with those? So I know that it's probably not a reality currently, but I don't know whether Patty could be of a service to gain a few more hours by starting to maybe start from present and going backwards and somehow building some sort of a software system that she can use to then go back to sort of, I don't know whether you can, I don't know if you can trigger some sort of, when a property's sold, is that brings up the fact that, I don't know, really, it's complicated, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard because, and I've talked to John Mativier and Quint before him, and the problem with, we put on the decisions that when the property is sold, transferred, or a change in occupancy, the people have to come back to the zoning board for a new special permit.
No, they don't.
And they don't.
Right.
But he's not the police.
Right.
So he's a zoning enforcement officer, so if someone complains, he can do something about it. If no one calls and complains, there's really nothing, I think legally, I think we asked KMP years ago, you can't just go into someone's house, you know what I mean? It's kind of a hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep track of them. I have a list of accessory apartments. I haven't been able to keep up with it this year yet, but there's a lot of them out there, and there's a lot of them that I drive by and I see a rent sign, or it's
Well, I
a
think
daycare now, or
I think,
it's like, what? So
I guess, but the first thing sounds like we need to get organized.
Yeah,
So I think we should put that on a list of topics to chat about for
yeah.
next year's budget and to
Well,
see.
I can come to you and ask for a reserve fund transfer to fund it. Have the proposal.
do it.
Okay, well, we'll
Is
just.
that-
Well, we gotta be a little careful about reserve fund, we're tapping it.
And, well, that's why I was waiting
Yeah.
Yeah.
towards the end of the, for
Yeah.
the spring.
To see where we were?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or to
there's a
see
lit-
if there's any line items that I
Okay.
That we can
currently
take it
have that I
from.
could use.
Right.
Yeah.
Too.
And we,
The other thing is, $5,000, we surely have that kind of money in free cash. Could we just put a warrant article in there? and
warrant's
do it?
closed. That's my next question. Are you guys opening the
They can
warrant again or
open
not?
again.
I thought
There's plenty of time.
I am not a fan of opening the warrant, but I thought I heard in a
yeah.
meeting that one of you
Yeah.
guys were talking about opening the warrant again.
They have the ability to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you have the ability. I just didn't know. I
Yeah.
thought, like I said, your meeting was on in the background when I was at home the last time. I thought I heard something about reopening the warrant. I just didn't know if there was a plan because something was missed. Or
Well,
not.
there's just there's a couple placeholders there that need to be,
Dealt with.
yeah.
Well,
Anyway, this sounds like something we should do, however.
we can do it, and we can also do it through special, if we're opening up a special town meeting, right? Yeah, we can do it through the special town meeting.
Oh,
At the beginning, if Mike has an idea of where we are, if we've got some
Good
items to move
idea.
around.
Yeah, if there's no
So
other
maybe-
way to deal with it.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And so maybe that's the first step is to,
Is to get it organized. Yeah. And I would think if you wanna do something with it to digitize it, I would think you'd wanna do it in a way that everybody can add information to it, no matter
Yeah.
what the department is. So I'm wondering if there's some kind of generalized software. I don't know if it doesn't sound like this other program that you have would do it, but I wonder if there's something else. I mean, it's probably not a good idea to make up your own software. Is
Yeah.
the point I'm
No,
trying
it
to get
isn't.
at.
I'm sure some of the wealthier towns already are doing it.
Yeah, I wonder if what they use.
It just takes up a lot of time when I have to run downstairs.
Oh, yeah.
And then someone will come to the window and I just came back up and I'm going back to.
right. But I think but in the meantime, if you are, whatever information you're gathering, you're basically,
she's-
all you can do is scan it, right? So
I'll
it's,
go in the copy room and scan it and I
That's-
start a file and, by year.
right, so you're not putting it into a spreadsheet or
File
anything
number.
like that.
No, I don't have time.
That's what, so but
Right.
that would be anything that was done in that aspect, you do into a table, so that way, on a spreadsheet, so it can go into any other, it can go into any other, it can be
imported, yeah.
imported into something else.
And the way I find them is by those index cards, believe it or not. If it's within the last 12 years, it's right on the computer, but the index
But
card.
you can't have every department going in and changing things in the archives.
Well, the software can handle that.
Yeah, that would be security.
You know, certain
All right,
departments
so-
only have rights to change certain things. I mean, that's not.
Is
that's
that
easy.
something, do you have a listserv for other zoning boards in other towns to find out what other pieces of software they might use? Just to start a research of, I didn't know if zoning boards have like that, because I know town administrators and finance people, that people have got listservs with everybody's addresses, email addresses. Just saying, just to check out to see who else, what are other people using for software. Kind of like what we did with the view permit, you know, just to start, not view permit, what is it called? What's our permit software?
Permit tracking, the GeoTrack,
GeoTrack? I
the
couldn't
new
remember.
one?
Or the,
The building permits.
yeah,
Yeah,
GeoTrack.
GeoTrack.
Okay, I just didn't want to call it the wrong, yeah, like we did with that, just to start finding out what is out there. To start
Make
getting
some
an
calls to
idea.
other zoning.
Yeah, see, I mean, you know,
What departments are affected by, all that documentation down there, is strictly for building stuff, just like zoning and building planning?
No, everybody's stuff is
Like,
down
who else?
there.
What other, like what,
Everybody,
administration and,
Town
tax
clerk,
collector,
so
yeah,
somehow it has to all be,
tax collector, it's just,
the town
It's
accountant.
jammed
We
in there.
have to keep records
you have a little
for
path to walk.
20 years, some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them we have to keep
Forever.
zoning forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some only 7 years.
You need those decisions, they
So,
said.
you know,
Zoning was
that's,
But we gotta start.
gotta do that.
1954.
That's gotta be.
well, I mean,
high
the
priority.
thing is that it's just, this is for use for more efficiencies in the job. I mean,
Right,
the storage of it
yeah.
is, that's still the thing of you can't get rid of certain things ever.
Oh, no,
ever,
no,
ever.
but I mean, it's certainly more efficient to have this stuff available, you know.
We need to start
digital
looking
form.
towards
Well, The
technology.
thing about it is, you're gonna be talking about, if you don't do something, you're gonna be talking about this again in 10, 15
Uh-huh.
years.
Right, exactly.
And what I've found
I'm
is
not.
that in the ZBA, there's an abuse of, as you say, of the special permits over time. It's just natural that it happens.
Right,
And then that leads to no enforcement, which leads to other things.
yeah. I mean, the only thing about the accessory apartments, I don't know if there's any kind of other kind of enforcement that you can do to, unless, like I said, unless someone calls and complains. I mean, that's something to research, I guess.
So you couldn't, I guess, to
I
your
don't have the
point-
authority. I'm not even a department head. I'm just,
That's what I'm saying, so we can't really, I mean, she could do
I
the
don't know what
research.
I don't know how to enforce that. Not
it would-
sure.
It's under John's purview. He's the zoning enforcement officer, but like he said, unless someone calls and complains,
Well, the zoning board could probably complain. You know, I could do a
Yeah.
complaint about anything,
Okay.
you know, for John to enforce that. It's just, we need a system to trigger it. So, and it gets triggered when the property gets sold. So there needs to be some sort of ability to acknowledge it, it's for sale. Then Patty would be able to go and check, you know, like every day she should have a list of everything on the market in Georgetown. Then she would be able to go to the computer and say, oh, this one has an accessory apartment. And then somehow we need to make sure that it's not advertised as such, that it has an apartment, because it
Like an
really,
in-law apartment.
right.
Yeah.
It could only be an in-law, because the new owners need to apply to use that
Right.
as an in-law
I think
apartment
that's
again.
another 10 hours.
Well, I mean,
Well, that would be my question. What does that
Well,
come
I'm
out
supposed
to
to be doing there's a part of the bylaw, 16588, that I'm supposed to be doing this report to the selectmen every year of, I don't have time to do it, of all the special permits, and variances and everything. So what I do is, it's kind of like the town report, same kind of, I don't have my bylaw with me. I do it in the form of the town report, but there's a second line in there. You don't have your bylaw, do you? No, it's 16588, but it says that I shall enforce. I don't know how I would do that. In other words, I don't know the wording, I apologize.
Is there any way we can figure out the cost benefit of adding hours to do this? What is the, you know, a cost benefit of this? Is there?
yeah, we could.
Is there increased fees? Is there increased something, if adding the 10 hours on, if we can't do it in the operating budget, is that something that then can get paid out of some other place? I don't know, Mike, do you know what I'm asking?
yes.
Okay.
Well, anything.
Just, I'm not asking, we don't need to answer this down, I'm just saying, just
Yeah.
food for thought, just to see.
Whatever I do that's related to a hearing still comes and it's down because I have more hours than I did before. I'm 18 hours.
Right.
So the revolving account has a little more in it because of that. So, but anything related to a hearing that I go over in office hours comes out of revolving. That still works the same way.
Gary, you had a question?
It was pretty much answered.
Oh,
We certainly, we can talk with Mike and you and some of the board members and figure out what our priorities would be and how to tackle them, because it kind of happens at the same time as you begin to reorganize the files downstairs. Like this all these departments kind of all have to work together. Like, I don't know if you can have just one person clean house down there and organize everything, because actually each department really should be driving how they'd like to use that information. I mean, certainly getting it organized is good, but maybe the boards or the departments need to decide what is a priority, to what information we want to pull out of all those archives. It's not everything.
Well, you need to talk to the person who's gonna be organizing this
Right.
thing. Give him or her some sense of
Some priorities, right.
how you want it organized so that,
Well,
Like,
and then
I
I
know-
think
I-
what also
I know
what Paul
what-
is saying is that's
Yeah.
the second part of it, is once it is organized.
Like,
then
I
you
know
gotta
what needs to
decide
be,
what you wanna
I know
do.
what needs to
Right.
be pulled out of those files.
Right, exactly.
Because I worked for building conservation and zoning, so I know when someone comes in to look at a property, I know what they want out of building and what they want, if there was an order of conditions or a cease and desist or whatever out of conservation, and then the decision's gonna come out of zoning, and then the building permits.
But
Well,
what if
we're
you're
over the-
sick? What if you're sick, got a disability or,
I put my back out for a couple weeks. and
right,
that- yeah, it
there's
was-
no one else has that knowledge.
I log in from home.
Right, and this is, with over the
Emergency
past
stuff.
few years where we've made so many cuts, we've gotta start looking at where we can, and with Mike's help, the priority of what
Right.
services, or not even services, but also what functions have gotta start getting restored, and then we, as the finance board, have to figure out financially how to, what's, the best way to do it.
And I'm by myself, I don't
Yeah.
have, everybody has two
Right, so-
people. Am I the only one by myself, Mike? I'm the only one person.
You are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, but there's a lot of things, there's things since 2002 that we've cut all over the place. It's kind of like the same thing with the town accountant. I mean, we had an
Yeah.
assistant, or, but,
Oh, yeah.
but,
Pat,
Mary.
Mary's by herself.
Mary's by
Mary's by
herself.
herself, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so,
She
but
does a lot.
that really needs to come from Mike as the town administrator, working with all the department heads to figure out where the priorities are. Like with CIP, where are the priorities? And where, and if it's something small like a $4,000 or $5,000, that's a good cost benefit, because it's going to, that in and of itself,
Gonna save it quickly.
right. We're gonna see that, I think, for everyone being able to at least find it, a
Right.
little bit
It's
better
also-
organized.
It's also preserving it as well.
It's,
Exactly.
That's true,
way-
yeah.
yeah, so, okay, so
before
we'll,
we have another disaster downstairs and all
Yeah.
the records are
yeah,
completely lost.
Yeah, and a lot of, like I said, everything on the bottom drawers, I kind of want to, which I just need to get boxes or have someone help me with, because I can't pull them out of there. That's how tight they're in there. But they're musty and they're damp. It's like you're putting something in a safe, and you open them and there's paper
Right,
fleas, and they've been
exactly.
eaten by paper flea. I want to get those decisions out of there, and I want to get them scanned. I just don't have
Yeah.
the time.
okay, so Mike, you'll come back to us with what
Yes.
the first step, I guess, is, because we can't do it all at once anyway. I mean, we can't do it all at once.
It's got to be
so
organized.
It's gotta be organized first, so that's the first step.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
wonderful. Any other
Okay.
questions for ZBA? Thank you very much. Grab a coffee to go if you'd like.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lots of
And we have Peter Durkee from the Highway Department. Hi, Peter.
Hello.
Glad to see you got some sleep from the most recent storm. What would you like to tell us about your department this year? Your requests? We know about salaries. Those are all the 2.5% that we know, those are the plugs.
Right, and we're doing the budget a different way this time again. I think we're gonna have to add to this here. It's, looking at some of the, like, for instance, snow and ice, I have it under other purchase services. I think we have to, set up an account for snow and ice, and I'm pretty sure with this UMass system, there's numbers, and it's, we can look at that and
Yeah.
and put it in, but it's gonna be a little bit different than this, because I have, materials that I buy, and I have, suppliers that come in, like the plow drivers, that,
Right.
in those accounts. So, plus repairs needs to be in there, and so. So that's basically all the, the only differences is with the wages. I know that the,
What's your temporary of 4,000?
that is, summer help. I've had summer help for the last 2 years. The first year I had him, used the money that I had. You know, we didn't have a lot of overtime.
Yeah.
So I used that money and he worked 3 days a week. Last year he worked 4 days a week. This year he's planning on working 5 days a week.
What
And
do
it's
you
a
ha-
college kid.
What do you have him do? Just curious.
Mowing, you know, he'll help, you know, everybody in the department, you know, whether it's, you know, putting signs up, but it's a huge help in the summertime, and it's great. This is his 3rd year. I could basically send him out alone mowing, and he could take care of it.
Excellent.
And one great thing, Conservation will love to hear this, he was mowing up at West Street last year. He's going to school for environmental at Keene State, and he stopped and moved turtles, you know, instead of running them over. So it's huge that you get somebody that cares.
That's
So,
nice.
Steve will be happy.
Yes.
yeah.
Are there any increases over your last year's? Any dramatic increases?
No. The, and we did receive some grants from FEMA. We received 4 grants.
They're back here, aren't they?
That equaled $1.2 million, and the town has to match, or not match, they pay 25% of that, or
Okay.
they can use in-kind services. So we try to do in-kind services a lot, so
Yeah, you do that a lot.
that's huge for the
Yeah.
town. West Street's gonna start in April. Central Street, there's 2 culverts that we're gonna replace, and there's one on Thurlow that we're gonna replace hopefully this year.
Where's the one on Thurlow Street?
How interested are you?
There's only one culvert, and it's,
Oh, right.
yep, and that's the one that we're gonna replace. You can start to see it, sinkholes around it now, and you can start seeing now with the frost heaves that it's a little bit higher than the road. So it's a great time to be replacing that. It's part of the Parker
After you?
River.
Oh, it's down near the Parker River?
It is at the Parker River.
Oh, it's at the Parker River.
This
Oh,
is the
wow.
hazard mitigation grants, right? Yeah, which we're really lucky to get because
Yeah,
they say that the money's there, but you don't always qualify.
and you know,
course.
we've received 4. It's unbelievable. So,
Congratulations, that's great.
Whatever you're doing, keep doing that.
well, the only problem is with these FEMA mitigation grants, it only takes care of problems that you've had. It's not something
Yeah.
that you can just go out and replace culverts.
Right.
So
You can't do future,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
it's, you know, flooding areas, so there has to be a need for this. West Street is, you know, huge. That's gonna get done this year, and so,
Excellent.
So you gotta do more paving this year, you say?
yes, we are. We have a pavement maintenance program that's finished. It's a 5-year plan. That's here. This is only in its draft form. I have a large map, and you know, I can show you this real quick. I have a PowerPoint presentation, not for here, for the selectmen at a future meeting. So,
Thank you, Peter.
but I'll just.
Is that the one by World Tech?
No, this is Beta.
Beta, World Tech.
And North Andover has this, and I
We're
looked
just
at
getting
it.
ours.
It's unbelievable.
It is so cool.
So
It's scary. I don't even know if I want to know the dollar amount.
8.8 million, I think it is. And if we ever get, you know, double our Chapter 90 money, this is, you know, huge.
Well, this is also something I think, Mike, that, you know, as we look at the debt going forward, some debt starts to fall off. We may want to look at putting in some bonding articles to take care of some of this, so that way we're not actually adding to the tax base, but we're replacing what has dropped off to start doing some roads.
So this is the
Here comes a board for you.
Wow, look what happens. Things just appear
I
magically.
know. Thank you.
What a guy. Can you see? Yeah.
This is, Mike, have you had a chance to look at this?
No, I haven't.
So cool.
And like the fire department helps out everywhere they can.
this is a map of Georgetown. There's all different
Take these
colors
away
here.
from
The red is the most expensive. It's reclamation. It means grind up the road, regrade it, repave it. So you can see there's a lot of red in here. Let me see, and that's not good. But you know, as we do work, it will be cheaper to take
Right.
care of the roads.
Right.
West Main Street is on here. Where is it? Right here. And we're going from 25% now to 100%. We started that engineering process right now. So that would be part of the tip, so that won't be the town money. That's, we're using chapter 90 money to get the, to do the engineering. So we're working on doing that with the tip. The next project I hope to do with the tip is North Street, because that is a terrible road.
Yeah.
And one thing that I may do, or I'm gonna try to do, is something with Andover Street. We have to do something with the drainage on Andover Street. So I'm hoping I can do the drainage from, say, Ballpate down to take care of all the water, and then maybe mill and overlay the whole road, so.
Who did this for you?
Beta Group, they
Is
were
it
out during the summer.
They're
And
consultants?
they went around and they drove every street. They gave me maps like that. I have it on my computer. I have this, booklet here that shows
Wow.
every road, what the condition is, what the whole town, between 1 and 100, we're ranked the 66, so,
1 in 100 scale.
One's good, 100's bad.
yes. So.
Oh, well, that's not
But
right.
it will, this will give me a plan that I can, okay, these roads need to be crack sealed. This is how much money I used to go toward crack sealing. Like, for instance,
This is really.
this year,
This is fantastic.
$24,000 I used this year out of my Chapter 90 money for crack sealing, and it's time for glasses.
Is he gonna be getting one of these
You want us to
soon?
read it?
127,000. I could be tell you too, but 127,000 for reclamation, and it tells you what roads to do. It's
Oh, no, so it lays out a whole plan for you.
yeah. So I have 5 years of what roads, how much we're going to spend for crack sealing,
Wow, that's fabulous.
reclamation.
But the other
That's
thing
great.
is that as utilities come into town, such as Comcast or anybody else, or gas, and they want to rip up the road, you can coordinate now with these
Yes.
guys. They don't, because, and you can kind
Instead
of
of ripping
figure
it
out
twice.
ripping. You don't want to rip it twice, but you also want to
Right.
rip it where it is. And so therefore, if something is, say, on yellow, but Comcast is coming to do a bunch, then that's the type of work that would move up them, because you really we want to do our
when they-
portion
yeah,
at the
when
same
they're doing
time.
theirs, yeah.
And one thing we did this year, we did some work on the Linden Circle area. And before we did work in there, the gas company came in and replaced all of the gas lines. And I met with them and I said, instead of you coming in here and repaving these trenches that are only a foot wide on a road that is terrible, how about if you give me a dollar amount and we'll put that toward paving the road? So they came in, did all their gas work. They filled in the trenches, with the gravel, and then they put ground hot top on the top, just, to hold it over until we
Right.
went out there and paved. I think they did their work, and within a month we were in there grinding up the road, regrading it and paving it. So, and that dollar amount went toward paving the road.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Oh, that's great.
because we would have they would have, all that money they saved on paving and.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, are you in contact with like the gas companies? I'm sure not all of the town roads can handle gas, right?
The gas company notifies me each year. They send me a letter and want to know what we're doing, what we're planning on doing this year for work.
Okay, that's
And,
what I
and
was-
now I can give them a 5-year
Yeah,
plan.
okay, all right.
That's incredible.
So they would come in, so they would use that to make their plans to
Yeah,
come in.
because
and if-
by law, you can't dig up one of our roads if it's been paved for 5 years.
Oh, right, I
So-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why this is really key. And
Yeah,
then,
unless it's an emergency, they're
Yeah.
not gonna let a gas leak go and.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, as a planned
Yeah.
thing, you can't.
are you getting the mobile app that goes with that too?
Yes.
Okay, how are you going to use that?
I can use it with the Merrimack Valley, and I can use it, we have so many maps of, I want to try to get everything together. We have a map that looks just like that, shows every catch basin, and that's through Merrimack Valley. So,
Right, but
Yes. Can you, sort of lay them all
That's
onto
what I'd
one?
like to do.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, this is done off of GIS too. So, yeah, the My Map Mobile isn't quite up and running yet. It will be soon, and I don't know what they're going to start rolling it out. I think to other different communities, because that's my question is to you of, as we start to get mobile, do you have the right equipment to be able for you to be out in the field, such as whether it be a computer with data or like an iPad,
An iPad,
or something
yeah,
like
with
that. Okay,
I think the school's got like a closet full, I could ask them for. Harold's not watching today.
you just be thankful that Comcast is busted and it's not streaming live anywhere. But seriously, I mean, as things are changing and stuff like that, now, let me ask you this, did you have the street signs done, did you have the street sign inventory done too?
We've replaced a lot of street signs on the
Not-
main roads, on the roads that by law you have to do.
That's what I-
Are you talking street
The
name signs?
MUTCD, the MU,
The street name signs or every sign?
no, the traffic signs.
We were lucky. We had, the state came through and I never asked them. They went through and replaced every sign on
They did.
133 and 97.
Because that's a huge,
Okay, have fun.
And
That's a
now
huge
every
capital
sign
expense,
we,
okay.
you know, we start replacing signs as they get old and we use the reflectivity, so.
Right.
And there's a class coming up,
Tuesday.
next week that
Yeah.
one of my guys is going to.
Yeah,
So,
it's just, the same company that we had happened to use, and we also had to do the street sign inventory, obviously we're much larger, and we've got a lot more street signs, but it is a huge, with MUTCD, which is the manual uniform
Traffic,
control devices, that, but everybody has to have a plan by a certain time, and it has to replace all of these, all of your signs in town, they have to meet certain standards, and it's expensive. It's expensive, but a lot of towns are actually starting to roll it out. And that was gonna be one of my questions, long-term planning. Are you looking at a big capital expense, or are you able to just kinda go
with,
pay as you
you know,
go?
as we replace signs, they get replaced with the new reflectivity.
Okay.
We've replaced most of the street name signs in town. The bad part is they change their mind. You
I
know,
know.
that one year they say they want this, and then the next year they want something different, and I'm not changing them, so they're.
You don't have to.
they're-
I don't think you have to,
so.
so. Cool. This is very cool. I'm very excited. That this is gonna be a
That's
huge,
fabulous.
huge tool
And,
for
you know,
Peter.
The 5 years that I've been here, we've been doing a lot of drainage work because it's, you know, it's what
Right.
people don't see. And there's not many roads in town here that I can just go in and crush the road, regrade it and pave it because of the drainage.
Right.
So we have to replace the metal pipe, beforehand. One of the bigger projects we're doing this year is around the library. We're gonna be replacing all the drainage there. And, we're gonna be, redoing the sidewalks, curbing, down by Verizon will be a lot safer. There'll be granite curbing there.
Oh, good.
So, and I know we're gonna be, moving forward with Elm Street to get that done with drainage, sidewalks, and new roadway. And I believe a working traffic light on East Main Street.
At the end of Elm.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's just changing the fixture now, right? Basically, because the wiring should
It
all
is,
be there.
it's plumbed. It's all the piping's there, but there's no wire, so that has to be done.
Oh, really? I thought the wires were all in, no?
Not to make it a working one. That, I looked and I saw empty pipe, so.
Okay. All right.
Yet another street light in town.
Yeah. And it would be nice if we could use it for a couple hours a day, in the morning and afternoon, but by law, once you put a traffic light up, it has to be
Has to be
all
functional all the
24/7. So,
That's what was just put up for flashing for now when they did all the stormwater downtown, knowing full well that somewhere down the line, we were gonna end up putting into a real street light, a real traffic light.
now people are gonna see, a lot more work being done. Before you've seen, crossover pipes replaced, now you're gonna start seeing more paving, because we've been using the money. I've been banking the Chapter 90 money, and we're gonna go, since we have this plan now, we're gonna start going and
That's excellent.
doing a lot
Wow,
of
that's
paving.
great.
It's nice to see a plan.
Yeah.
Well, that's,
That's nice.
and it can roll into, because it's in a database form, so anything in the future, this will always be able to be rolled into any other sort of software application that may come up in the future, which is good.
I'd like to see a plan on the traffic when when you fix West Main Street.
Ooh.
I'd like to put a toll up there.
I live there, don't put it to
No, we'll put it past your house. I mean, traffic's backed up all the way to, Valley Tree in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
It's
It
Oh,
is.
coming, yeah.
and doing the work around the library is going to help, because it's because what happens is when people drop off in the morning, they either drop off by Verizon or by the library,
Yeah.
and then they come out and make that light. Every time that in the morning that light, turns green for the people coming out of Winter Street. Then the pedestrian light turns on so they can go, and then the green light goes. So you're not getting a lot of movement there.
Right.
So,
Right, yeah. Yeah,
And I wish there was some way we could get rid of that traffic, but
I guess not, yeah.
we could put a tunnel in.
I like
Or a
the
bridge.
toll. I like the
Little
toll.
bridge.
The toll, I think with the toll would be great, because I mean, it's just
we
a
do that,
ton
Mike?
of traffic.
We're coming with some creative afternoon ideas.
Maybe we could get some, kids to do their community service. They could just be there in the morning collecting toll money.
The cup,
Yeah.
the tin cup. Awesome.
Community service.
We just won't have Mike go down that end of town in the morning, that's all.
That can be arranged.
Oh,
Anything
goodness.
else you want to share with us, Peter, of? On the bottom of our sheet, we has Public Works Supplies, then RMDR.
That's road maintenance, that, you know, that was the old accounts, what they were called.
Oh, okay, all right.
You know, the road maintenance, the drainage was combined, which
Okay.
I wanted to do, you know, in the past. And the other thing is sidewalks and trees. So it's
That
good
was
that,
some kind of
you know,
secret
because,
code.
you know, with the
It
equipment,
is. It's
the
his
equipment we
secret
have now, we can do a lot of work in-house. We have a curb machine, we have a sidewalk machine, you know, that we've had for years. And now we can go in and start, you know, prepping the area and add sidewalks. So that's one thing that we want to try to do. In any road work that gets done, you have to do the sidewalks over. So,
Really?
yes. So it's no more just going in and do the road, you have to do the sidewalks too. So,
Wonderful. I like that 5-year plan thing.
do you want to know anything about, you know, what I'm going for through CIP?
That's what I was just looking at, is you had 2 requests in, this is what I just passed out to you guys beforehand, is the individual requests, and, right, and then CIP's recommendation, and to make, CIP, they didn't have a quorum to be able to take a vote, but when we changed that bylaw last year, it's not, CIP articles are not required by law to have a vote, but there was a group of CIP members that got together and reviewed all this. Mike, you want to update us as we start with the first CIP?
Yes, we had we had one meeting this year. No, we still did. We've had one meeting that we actually held. However, as Sandy said, we didn't have a quorum, but we did do a review. There was three voting members and 2 non-voting members were at the meeting. So, you know, we had a diverse group there, just we couldn't make any official votes. And when it came to the Public Works requests, Peter, as Sandy said, Peter has 2. One for a 6-wheel dump truck and one for a 1-ton pickup.
Well, no, that's still a dump, but,
Oh, it's a 1-ton
one-ton dump?
dump?
yep.
Okay.
Let's say a pickup truck was setting.
It was and you can see we have them both in 2014, for which Peter requested. The group, looking at next year, 2015, if you take out that $1.5 million senior center,
Yeah.
Let's do that.
you know, there's only $242,000, and so it was the group's suggestion, but we were leaving it up to Peter, that we do one or the other as far as the truck, those 2 trucks are concerned. It would fit better in, if we didn't do both of them. And I asked Peter, which, you know, can you go a year without the dump truck, the 6-wheeler? And I mean, that's, I think it needs to be left up to Peter. So, Pete, what's your preference?
Well, let's just preface this by saying that the capital line items are being funded out of the capital fund. We're not looking at bonding anything, any of these items to be bonded. This is just coming out of the capital line item that's in the operating budget, and also the capital line item.
Well, as
Reserves.
you see, we didn't make, until we understood which way we were going, we didn't make a recommendation
Yeah, I see
for
there's no
funding.
funding source for that,
Funding
for
of
the
either
6
one of those, yeah.
Right.
3 of them, in fact, the command
Yeah.
vehicle as well.
I mean, there is, you know, over $300,000 available in the capital fund, and we, you know, could afford it.
That's the capital reserve.
Yeah, the capital reserve fund.
Not the line item.
Right.
Right.
$382,000 in that fund right now. But we can also, you know, lease it, do a lease purchase, which is what we've been doing with a lot of vehicles.
Okay, Peter, which
Sandy, didn't we speak about that surplus equipment coming back from the Iraq and Afghanistan?
That was-
Was that impractical to consider?
Did Chuck ever give you any of that information?
No, I never got anything.
We didn't get anything back. I mean, there may be a potential, I think, looking forward, but I think that might be possibly tied up a little bit more red tape than,
Then he lets
Then-
on?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, might be. I think that's a nice business plan they've got on the side there. But what are the two, what year are these trucks, Peter, and what are they used for?
The 1 ton is a 2003 with 102,500 miles. And it doesn't need to go away, but, you know, it could be, you know, given to the school department. And
Repurposed.
it could be used for them. But, you know, with our use, with the both vehicles, you know, the more work that we're doing, it would be better suited to get a newer vehicle. We have a vehicle maintenance program now that Don got a grant, and, you know, we went to school on that. That's why I was thinking about with the laptop, you know, getting something like that because of that vehicle maintenance program. So that one there, it's got 102,500 miles. The 6-wheel dump that we want to replace is the one that we have the wing on it. It's you know, just like I've talked about in the past about the internationals, they were all purchased within like a 2-year period.
Yeah.
And you know, like I said last year, we had to replace the fuel tank one week. The next week we had to replace another fuel tank, and 2 weeks after that we had to do the third fuel tank. Last year we got rid of one of the 6-wheelers. We traded it in. It's got a double frame on the bottom, and the problem with the double frame is that material or the rust gets in between and separates them and cracks the frame. So last year we had a crack maybe 30 to 40 inches long in one of the frames. This year we probably have, I measured it, it's probably closer to 80 to 90 inches long. My guy went in there, cleaned it all up, ground it down and welded it. It's probably not the best fix, but it got us through the winter, knock on wood, because hopefully winter's over. But that truck there is used all the time plowing. It, you know, does East and West Main Street. It's got the wing on it, and anytime we need to go back and wing back roads, that's the vehicle we use. So I didn't want to replace that one, you know, first. But since with the crack, that's what, you know, I said, because I wanted to replace the other truck first, the other 6-wheeler we have. But so far, knock on wood, the frame hasn't cracked on that, so.
So it sounds like you can't wait till next year till 2015.
I could have it looked at by a company that's, you know, that does this professionally and look at it, and they could give me a price and say, this is what it's gonna cost to fix this, or we just try to go with it, what it is, and then maybe the rear end just falls out one day as we're driving down the road, so.
What? Are you staying with
Not if that you wanna
internationals? Are you
say.
staying with internationals, or are you gonna start going with Max?
The reason I don't go with Mac is like the Cadillac of
Yeah.
trucks. I went with Peterbilt, and I think it was, I have a price this year for another Peterbilt. It was like 147,450. A Mac is, you know, but this one here is a little bit different than the one we received last year. This one's gonna have a wing on it too, not just the front plow, it's gonna have the wing. And one thing that we do, and it's probably not the best thing, but, you know, it's a stainless steel sander. We take the old sander and just put it in the new truck. So, because the only thing that goes on it are the chains that we replace when they wear down anyways. And we have a lot of spare parts for, you know, the sanders and things like that, the pumps, the motors, so.
What about a belly plow? There's no need for it?
I don't, you know, we have a grader in the yard that doesn't get used. It only gets used, it's not our grader, it's a subcontractor. But if we needed it, we have the grader in the yard that he could go out there and scrape anything. And so we are very fortunate to have the subcontractors that we have in the wintertime. One of them is, he owns a very large earth moving company, and we are very lucky to have him. I tell everybody this, we could get 4 feet of snow, and then 4 days later get another 4 feet of snow, and Georgetown will be the only town open. You won't be able to get out of your driveways, but Georgetown will be open.
So we should go buy snowshoes?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like the six-wheeler is you need more?
Six-wheeler.
Well, you know, if we can get another year out of it, that would be great, and then it separates the larger trucks a little bit more. But, you know, if the town can afford it, that would be great.
Okay, so,
Do you get any trade-in value on this, or you just?
They will definitely go in for trade. This is a price that I have, but without the trade. So, but they will come out and look at it and give me the last one, I think we got $8,500 or $8,600 for it. And it went toward the new vehicle.
yeah, they're not, the trade-ins are not.
No.
Mac
It's
is
pretty
the,
beat up, I would think.
Mac
Mac is the only trade, and you only get like 15 on a Mac.
15,000.
And I
Yeah,
will say
so-
this, when Andover gets rid of a Mac, people are lined up at the door to get it. They want it. You
Not
know?
our Macs right now. Hey, at least one of yours didn't get crunched in an accident.
Oh, knock on wood. Because it could happen.
Yeah. Okay, so if you were only able to get one truck, you'd pick the six-wheel.
Whatever the town can afford. And the town was very good to me last year, so,
Yeah, this is the first time we've seen CIP, so we haven't even really.
okay.
We're just asking general questions because we haven't even had a chance to discuss it yet. Are there any other questions for Peter?
Nope.
In the highway? So status quo, nothing new and big? And if you need new technology, you're gonna be able to afford it within the budget with whatever, as you go forward with
As
some of this stuff?
I try to, you know, we're always looking to save money. We, you know, our paper supplies, we, you know, use the school department's contract. We buy all our paper goods, or should I say paper, this type of paper through the school now. And I got a price from, the police department got a new company to do their paperwork. I got a price, or, you know, the toilet paper, paper towels. I got a price from them, and I also got a price from the school, their vendor, and I go with the cheapest one. So we're always trying to save money.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't have to be said here, so I need to say this to the state, so. But it would be perfect if that, you know, something to do with prevailing wage. Our prevailing wage rate is Boston's rate. And, you know, I get a company that comes out here from Connecticut, they love working here because it's rural.
But yet it's Boston
easy.
rate.
It's easy.
It's easy, yeah.
And, you know, they should just go with the federal rate, and so it's nothing that really Georgetown can do, but it would be,
There would be millions and millions and millions of dollars saved to municipalities if we
Yeah.
didn't have to abide by prevailing wage, or there was some leeway,
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
so, which is. Mike, do you have anything to add?
No,
thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Peter.
thanks, Peter.
Have a good day.
Hopefully the winter's gone.
Peter, don't forget your.
Don't forget your
forget your map.
display.
I can do the toll if I get a cut.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Should we keep seeing?
Gary, do you want to hide behind that board, or do you want to?
I'm fine hiding.
You're fine? Okay, fire department, you're up.
Look at that.
See, I'm not saying come on down anymore, because I don't want to play Monty Ball.
Yeah.
He caught you on it.
And if you could introduce yourselves?
Al Beardsley, Fire Chief.
Jeff Manning, firefighter.
I think you gentlemen know everybody here except possibly Ed Dovey, who's a new member of the finance board.
Hi, how are you?
Do you have met Nazarene?
No.
Oh, Nazarene Fanucci joined us last year. Oh, you weren't here at the budget?
Jeff, remember her being on
Now,
last
Jeff
year.
got through last year's budget without us.
I was away.
You were on, yeah, you were
Yeah,
on.
there we
the-
go.
I was
You
on
were.
the West Coast.
Yeah.
Alrighty, what tab are
Welcome
we on?
back. We're in 9.
9. Okay. All right, guys, we know the wages, Mike, is the same thing, follow through with the wages on this at 2.5%?
yes.
Okay. And the wages, in regards to the wages, before we go to expenses, do the wages per call, or how does that, just to refresh everyone's memory and those at home, how do the volunteer firefighters get paid?
We have the per diem side, which are the hourly shifts that they work like Monday through Friday and such.
Right, right.
And we have the per call rate, which we're trying to get a clarification on to find out, are we within the Department of Labor guidelines for doing a per call? because your per call is one amount of money.
Right.
And it doesn't make any difference if that call goes 10 minutes or 10 hours. And that's where there's a legal issue there that we're looking into right now.
Because you don't know if it
Because
should,
you're charging below minimum wage.
if it's a longer, okay.
Yeah, when
yeah.
it's a long call like that.
When are you gonna have clarification on that?
I'm trying to meet with the personnel board. I put a request in to meet with them last week, so trying to get it moved along as fast as possible.
We haven't received a definitive legal opinion on it either. With
From
request from KMP. I've asked them to review that, because I know Al has brought it to my attention well over a year ago. There's one town in Massachusetts that had a wage claim against it, and they lost. Had to make up substantial back wages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that was going to be my question. Do you have any idea that if you had to pay some kind of minimum wage by the hour based on history, do you have any idea how much that would be?
Based on history, if we kept the same type of structure we have right now, we have two rates. You have firefighter rate, and then you have an officer rate.
Okay.
So there's no graduation between rank or anything like that. I think the one time we came very, very close to what the budgeted amount was at the time, if I remember correctly, Jeff.
Oh, yeah.
It was close.
Close.
So it's not an awful lot of money, you're saying? Is
Not the difference as I can see it. You know, what kills us is the nature of the business. You know, we get a bunch of house fires, or you get something like that happen out on 95, and you get 6 or 7 of those, 10 of those in the course of a year. It has a big impact on things.
How, do we have any projection of what if this comes down and the rate changes, how this could affect the budget? None whatsoever?
No.
Will we have it before town meeting?
take a swag at it.
Well,
I thought he
we-
was
we-
saying that he didn't think it would be much, but it could be potentially based on history. It isn't very much, but
I,
It would be it would definitely be a swag. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
a real swag.
can we get a swag, so therefore, so we have some sort of idea when we're getting into, before the fall town meeting, so as we're looking, before we just spend free cash, that we have something, that if we think that this is gonna be an impact of 50,000, or are we looking at a possible couple $100,000 impact? Because we need to make sure we keep,
It would be nice
We
to know
might-
what it is.
I
yeah.
absolutely, I don't think you're gonna see a
you
gross
understand what I'm saying? I just
impact.
wanna make sure that all of a sudden, if it comes down, that we've already
We could
pre-planned,
do a takeoff.
just to give us some
Just
sort
to
of,
give you a ballpark.
yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah.
That's
yeah,
my
that would
concern
be-
is,
Okay.
you know,
That's
just
what
so
we're
we know
looking at.
going in, as we're doing the free cash, if we theoretically need to make sure we keep something aside.
Yeah.
It's like we've done if we've ever had, when we thought possibly layoffs, we've always made sure we've had X amount of dollars in there on the potential of layoffs for the fall, same thing, just to make sure we have money.
Yeah, no, we can take, and because of the software we're using now to track calls and such, we can break that down
Okay.
and kind of do projections based on number of people on the call, number of calls, duration of call, things of that nature.
Oh, yeah, yeah. See, that would, yeah.
We can probably work with that. I can probably put something in
Yeah.
Excel on that.
Just ballpark is good, just so
Oh,
we
yeah, just in a sense of what it might be.
Yeah.
Okay.
So any other major changes in your operating budget?
Not really. The biggest thing that is really hitting us, and I kind of predicted this when I first took over as chief. Our fleet was fairly new when I first took over. We're now 5 years, 6 years into it, and it's typical of a fire apparatus. You start getting into the 10-year age on fire apparatus, and it start costing us big money. Just for an example, this year we've spent over almost $23,000 in repairs, and they've been big repairs. When a fire truck breaks, unfortunately, it's not cheap. And that's what has been hitting us. We have engine 5, which will be due up in 2019 for replacement. That truck is, I mean, it's literally starting to fall apart at the seams. The pump test failed. That we do an annual pump test we're supposed to do each year. The pump test failed. It didn't fail like horribly, but it failed. And we've taken some steps to try to correct it, so hopefully it'll pass its pump test again next year. But we have body issues that are coming up on it. In fact, we've just recently noticed a physical separation off bolts and the back end of the truck. And we've been monitoring it to find out, was this like a one-time thing that occurred where the truck was maybe on a bouncy road or whatever. But somebody's notified me yesterday that it looks like it's growing bigger, which means we're going to have to. I've had a company come in that does major maintenance for us. They were unable to see anything from the eyeball view. So now what we have to do next is we're going to wait for the weather to get warmer and just get a crew of guys to strip the hose bed right off, because it's from the back end where we have this separation that's occurring. And it's a separation by this much on the back end of the truck, which is pretty significant.
And it grows from the
midway
midway, because basically how the truck is set up, there's the cab and the chassis, and then the box, if you will, is where the pump and the other equipment is. From where that box attaches to the chassis, to the rear end, it's that much. And you can see the misalignment when there's top doors on it that close the hose bed. You can see the misalignment coming down.
Yeah. That's how it first came to our attention, was that we were having trouble trying to align the doors on top to when we close up.
And we mark it and take measurements every month to see the increase in the gap or the decrease in the gap. And what it did was the chief referred to as pulling away. There's a section in the back where there's like a diamond plate, which is a cover piece for part of the truck, where right on the edge there's a bunch of screws that hold that in. It's ripped out of each of those. So that piece, it's ripped out 1/4 of an inch of, 1/8 inch diamond plate right out. So it's something that's monitored closely right now.
And that's on which engine?
Engine 5.
It's on 5.
That's a
Which is
that's a 1999.
Yeah, which is the next one that's due up for replacement as it is.
Right.
In 4 years.
6 years.
19.
2019.
No, 6 years,
Yeah.
6
That's
years.
6
That's
years.
not the one on 2018 now?
Yeah, that's the one I
the
have for
one.
2018. Yep,
Yeah.
And that's engine what?
that's engine 5. That's why I made the remark in there. It could be sooner than later, based upon what's starting to go with the truck now.
Goes back to the old ladder truck issue with the shift and that too. We used to monitor that to the point, and then we sent it out to a specialty company, as the chief referred to it. And then when they went through it with their machines, there was stress cracks within that frame. So that's kind of what's in the back of the mind right now. Not saying it is, but kind of preparing ourselves for.
Yeah,
that type of
I mean,
thing.
there's good news and bad news with all these things. I mean, the good news is when the service company went up underneath as much as what they could see, because the most important parts on that truck are the frame rails. The frame rails seem to be intact. So whether it's a case of the shell of the body that's separating, we tend to think it's more along that line than it is something coming separated from the frame. Because if that's the case, we'd have to take the truck out of service. It'd be too dangerous to drive.
And there's flex built into those trucks as they go down the road. When you ride, you can see them, back and forth, but that's built into it.
Chief, what are these vehicular supplies for 36 grand? Can you give me some examples?
Can you speak up?
The vehicular supplies,
Mm-hmm.
36 grand?
The supplies, according to what Mike had been showing us with this new system, that takes in the maintenance work that has to occur on the vehicles.
Maintenance work.
What else would go under there?
That's
Or is it all
other than
maintenance?
the items we have for warrant requests, the climate event system that we had on last year, was one of them. We're talking about replacement on my vehicle. And I believe that was it. On the Plymouth Vent System, we had put in for a federal grant, but of course, as we've all been reading in the paper, millions have been cut from the fire, what they call the AFG, Assist Firefighters Grant Program. Millions was cut out of that. So I don't know where we stand. As of yesterday, it's still sitting in there. You know, the request is in there, but we're like everybody else. You know, I'm up against everybody else in the country that's requested these grants.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to say this before the police chief comes because I don't want him to have a stroke. I know Sheriff.
He's listening.
No, it's not. I don't think it's being broadcast. Comcast is there.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Oh, it is?
He's in his office watching us right now.
Hi, Chief.
He's going to be rushing over when it's his turn. He told me he would.
Can we leave now then?
And I know, and the only reason I'm bringing it up is I'm not advocating for whatever. I'm just bringing up the regional dispatch that the sheriff's office is doing. Is that something this town is looking at, or I would never say I'm never in a position to say whether that's right for the.
Yeah.
I just need to, because it is becoming more in the news and stuff.
The police chief and I have different opinions on that.
Okay.
I'm very much in favor of it because from our standpoint, it gives us consistency with fire people that know our language, know our procedures and such. Not that the dispatchers don't do a good job here, and don't misunderstand me or mistake that. They do a fantastic job here, but they also have to split themselves to the police department. And I was listening to the tapes from the bus crash, and that one dispatcher had herself split between answering the phone, trying to answer requests for information and such that the police were putting out, plus information requests that were coming from us. So, and trying to make multiple phone calls to people. I mean, fortunately, early on in that MCI, our base was manned by a firefighter, and it relieved them of a lot of work. But it's still this is pretty typical of what happens. Daytime, we get a car crash, police are running plates and trying to get their information, and we're trying to get information, whether it's for more apparatus or a hospital or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm very much in favor of the regionalization. And I'm on a regionalization committee right now for the Essex County Fire Chiefs, and in fact we're having our next meeting on Monday. So we're looking at some possibilities, and in fact we just all kind of submitted our budgets from all around the county to find out what kind of monies are we working with here in total, and then how can we work that to the best of our advantage to use equipment across the lines. Right now everybody's got their little fiefdom, and does it work well that our ladder truck could supplement the Boxford Fire Department because they don't have one, or to have their tanker truck come over here to help us in remote areas where we have difficulty getting to hydrants. Those are the types of issues that we're working with. Or heavy rescues. Does every town need to have a heavy rescue? Can you share those resources across the lines? So that's some of the things that we are working with right
Makes all
now.
the sense in the
Well,
world
that
to
was
me.
my follow-up question, is regionally, because you can never just say, oh, regionalize, and because not everything is
Right.
able to be regionalized. And when we had the big ladder truck, certain things with the ladder truck, when that came up years ago, I remember everybody saying, well, just borrow one from somebody else. Well, you know what?
Yeah,
There's
doesn't
certain
happen.
things, it doesn't happen. But yet, a forestry truck, I would think, maybe not everyone needs something,
That's
like
a
you were
good-
saying, a tanker truck or something like that.
The forestry is a good example because we had one, it was sitting in a station, basically occupying space. And it was from the federal excess property. Now, towns around us have forestry vehicles. I looked at the number of forestry calls that we get. It wasn't cost efficient to keep that truck in service. So we got rid of it.
Right, so that's good that looking at all these things regionally, just to see, is there any cost benefit to that?
Yeah.
'Cause-
Absolutely.
I have a question going back to engine number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Is that an aberration in terms of the physical breakdown of that truck, or is that something that you can anticipate with the other trucks? Because it seems to me that your whole replacement process is going to go out the window if you lose 6 years of life on each engine.
Well, normally the fire service years ago used to build a fire truck with a 30-year life expectancy. That was right across the board when I first came in the fire service. Unfortunately, as fire equipment manufacturers have come and gone over the past 40, 50 years, they basically now build a fire truck that for city use, like a Lawrence or someplace like that, 10 years, it is beat to pieces. For us in the suburbs and rural areas, you're looking at 20 years. And what happens is fire trucks for the first 5 years are pretty maintenance free, and any issues that you do have are covered under warranties. Once you start getting into the 7 to like 15-year range, now you start getting breakdowns, and when you cross over the 10-year threshold, your breakdowns start to become more expensive, like what we're seeing here. And then you start to get into that 15-year mark. Manufacturers aren't producing the spare parts anymore. So now you have to run around trying to find the spare parts. We had a shaft that blew out on the rescue truck. And fortunately, the company that we used for our major maintenance items had some contacts, but we had to wait almost a month before we could put that truck fully back in service because of trying to get this shaft replaced.
And that was built in 2003.
Yeah.
Just to show you the evolution of.
Yeah. So they're disposable, the fire trucks now.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Exactly.
And
Not like cell phones as
No,
opposed
that's
to
the
the old
word I
rotary
used.
dial.
That's the word I used the other night when we were
Except they
going
cost
over this.
$500
Was
million
things are
bucks a
disposable.
piece.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the sad part because
Expensive to be
one of the big things that I do is preventive maintenance. I get these companies to come in and do our testing that the National Fire Protection Association tells us we have to have equipment certified, because if something happens at a fire, somebody gets hurt, the ladder truck collapses or whatever with a firefighter, they want to know before our insurance claims start getting paid, was it properly maintained? Was it given preventive maintenance? Was it certified as it should be by the standards? And that, even through all of that, sometimes you do catch problems before they occur, but you're still going to have radiators that blow out. You're still going to have tires that need to be replaced, things of this nature, or a shaft that goes out, no matter what.
How about safety equipment? Are you guys, because I know we've done some safety equipment over the past few years, clothing and stuff. Are you good this year, or is that?
That's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
An ongoing
Well,
process
we-
now? It's still, yeah.
Two of the big safety items that
I know we done extra monies in a warrant article for it a few years ago, but now you've
Yeah.
got,
And
but,
again, it speaks to his maintenance program on replacing the turnout gear and things of that
Yeah.
nature.
Okay.
We can-
I put together
have it all planned out.
a replacement program because it's huge, as you have seen, coming to ask for 30, 40 sets of turnout gear like we would need. So what I've done is, and the turnout gear is good, has a 10-year life. And after that, the NFPA tells us you have to get rid of it because it's been subjected to carcinogens and wear and tear and everything, and you need to get rid of it. So what I've started doing when I first took over was each year I replace 3 to 6 sets of turnout gear, depending upon what I have in my budget and how I can make it happen. 3 to 6 sets a year. So we're constantly turning over our gear, so we have current gear rather than have to come to the town and say we need $190,000 for turnout gear. That's one of the big things. What was it? That one, turnout gear and
SCBA's.
oh yeah, the SCBA's. I was in
generation.
contact with our one of our suppliers that does our
SCBA?
yeah
What does that
self-contained
stand?
breathing apparatus.
Okay.
The air packs.
Yeah, the air packs, the breathing packs we wear. The air packs have a 15-year life on the tanks. That the tanks are made out of a carbon fiber process. The tanks have a 15-year life. We're now into about year 11 and 12 on the tanks. And when we get to year 15, there's a process that's called hydrostatic testing, which is where they apply pressures and everything inside the tanks to make sure that they're not going to fail, because those tanks have 4,500 pounds of pressure inside them. And you can imagine what that would be like if that thing let go. It could be catastrophic. So every year every 5 years, we have those tanks tested. So we just went through the 10-year point. When we hit 15, they will no longer certify the tanks. The tanks will no longer be considered safe for our firefighters to wear. Now, just this week, I had one of the salesmen in for the SCBA company that's local, and they now have lease programs that are available for these at like 2% rates. I was really quite surprised. He had given me some figures. He said, you know, you can lease your equipment now on a 3 to 5 year lease. And I said, I wish I'd known this earlier. I said I would have, you know, put that into the process, you know, to lease the equipment.
So how long would you keep the equipment for then?
Well, the equipment, you would still have a 15-year life on
So
it.
it's lease to own?
This is lease to own, yeah,
Okay.
just like, you know, just like with the ladder truck. So you're not hit with a big slam at one time, because the SCBA's that we bought, when we bought them, they were approximately $2,000. With recent changes that have taken place again through the NFPA standards, it's now $5,000 for one air pack, because electronics have changed, you know, the technology has changed so much since we bought these.
So is this something that you should replace all at once, or is this something now, like with the turnout gear, you should be
I
looking
wanted
at
to do
doing?
that, but only because of the way that the equipment works. You know, right now, the way the way things turn over, on the turnout gear, it's really best if each firefighter can have a spare set. That's ultimately what the NFPA would like to see, because, you know, you get a day like yesterday, you're out there in the snow and the slop and everything, you come back and it's just nasty having to wear that turnout gear until it gets dried. Or you go to a fire where it needs to be washed and so forth. So we've tried to have a spare set, you know, backing up each person. Unfortunately, with the SCBA's, where if we were to go into a replacement program, the problem that you have there is, what are you going to do now with these units that are like 10 years old? Scott Aviation, who makes our packs, they have had programs where they will buy back the packs at a discounted rate. I think he said to me like $700 a pack that they will give you towards the cost. So that's something that's out there, but I just don't think that given that amount of money that we'd have to put up front, I don't see that as something that would be a wise use of our money. Not at $5,000 a pack, or even if we could get $700, $4,300 is just way too much
To let go, yeah. Okay. Any other questions on the operating budget? The grant, we've got annual competitive grant, the SAFE
Yep.
grant.
We just got that, just got the money for that this past week.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and then you're talking about the SAFE grant?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just got that money,
Right, 'cause-
40, I think it was like $4,600.
Super.
We had put in, it's one of those few items, we actually, again, it's competitive. We had put in, I think the maximum at the time was like $3,700. And because a lot of fire departments didn't want to put up with all the fuss and work that it takes to put the grant together and maintain it, a lot of departments don't take advantage of it. So the state is nice enough to take that money that's been set aside and say, all right, everybody gets a bigger piece of the pie.
Sweet.
Wow.
So, yeah, and we've been
Congratulations.
very lucky in the past 3 years, that's been the case. We've wound up with more money than what we applied for.
I have a question on the ambulance numbers. What do EMTs get paid now?
They get paid meaning when they're on
Call rate.
duty?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Per diem rate.
it's the same thing as the per diem rate. They get $14.73 an hour,
Okay.
or $4.64.
Yeah. 1460.
And that's across the board for everybody?
Except the shift leader or the officer that would be on that night, they do 16.
Yeah, 16.80, something like that.
Yeah, it's about a $2.
Okay, so 1464 that's the per diem rate?
That's the per diem rate
That's
for a
the per diem for
firefighter
the
slash
officer.
EMT,
Okay.
such as myself.
And then if an officer is on, they get paid more.
16,
Yeah, like, I think it's 1670, 1680, all per hour.
When you get paid for reimbursement, is the rate on using the ambulance based on what the insurance company pays?
Right.
Or is willing to pay? Is that the way it works?
correct.
Certainly is.
So if the customer that you're picking up has a different insurance, is there different coverage?
Yes.
Yep. Every insurance company has their own, use it as a flip chart, if you will, as to what they'll pay for a base run, and then there's all the coding on how when it gets billed out through the insurance, the billing company. If it's coded incorrectly, and Robin, you can speak to that better than I can, use someone that's having an allergic reaction, for instance. If it's a straight allergic reaction, they may deny the claim, period, saying that it didn't meet the criteria for an ambulance ride. Or if it's such that, you needed a paramedic unit to advance care, then they'll code it that way, then you'll get what you billed out at.
So if someone calls the fire department and says, I think we need an ambulance to, I don't know, someone is sick in the house.
Yep.
If you ask the question, what do you think it is or whatever, and if it's not covered, do you deny sending an ambulance? Or?
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
By law, we cannot deny sending the ambulance to
Okay.
somebody. If somebody has called 911,
You have to respond.
we cannot deny them transport. No matter, ours is not to figure out what their insurance is.
Right.
Ours is
Our job is
to
to get them
treat
to
the
the hospital.
situation, get them to the hospital, and then it's up to the insurance companies to get into the battles.
Yeah,
then.
that's a whole second piece that's beyond us. Our job is to get there, take care of you, get you to the hospital, and then the insurance companies go from there.
Questions on the ambulance fund? Robin, do you have some questions? I know you do.
You're leaving it up to me.
Yes. Hey,
We left the highway up to you.
highway's me.
Okay. Mike, can you just explain the difference between going from revolving to enterprise? Because I know the DOR wants.
The enterprise, it would be the ambulance, the ambulance department would have to be self-sufficient. It wouldn't receive any taxpayer money. You can set it up where there's some appropriation, but it gets messy that way. Ideally, it would be just like the water or the light department.
So what happens, Chief, let me ask you this question. When you have per diem people working the fire station right now, what are they, because this is going to be it's going to be an enterprise question. Are they being paid as a firefighter? Or I know it's the same rate. Like, how are you going to determine whether it's an ambulance?
When they're scheduled, to be on the ambulance.
Okay.
So their hourly rate comes out of the ambulance side of the budget.
Okay. So so right now the station's being manned by EMTs, and basically we have on-call, or we have manned ambulance. We don't have any manned firefighters.
They're cross-trained. So if
How are you going to determine which account they're going to be paid out of?
Well, when they submit the wages, you code it. You code it for fire, you code it for ambulance.
Okay.
So basically, whoever's manning the station can do either. So, but if you happen to do an ambulance call, you'll put in for the ambulance call for that amount of time? Is that how it's gonna work?
Right now, they're like the guys that are in there right now. Their function is to be for the ambulance. That's their primary duty.
But what happens if a fire call comes in?
They will put on fire equipment.
That's what I'm saying, so they would,
I mean, they may wind up taking the ambulance with them, because just out of the flexibility of need, they would, they could respond with the ambulance and the engine.
Did that answer your question, or?
I'm just- I'm
it's
more
coding within the
concerned
system
with-
that we use.
Making sure that when this gets set up as an enterprise, that they're separate.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
Right. I just want to make sure that,
Right now,
The
we have the
firefighters
guys.
are not getting paid out of the revolving
The
fund.
Yeah.
fellows that are on
Enterprise
duty,
fund.
like Monday through Friday, came out of the original per diem fund that was set up. They're paid for per diem on the fire side. But as soon as we get to the evenings at 4 o'clock, and now two guys come on to staff the ambulance, that's their primary duty, is to make sure the ambulance gets out. And that comes out of ambulance.
So the wages in this will be paid anything except for Monday through Friday day. Is anything getting paid out of the enterprise fund from Monday through Friday day?
No, just evenings.
Okay, so that'll still be
Evenings, holidays, weekends.
3 o'clock on.
3 o'clock on. So the regular per diem is still getting paid for out of the fire department budget.
The day
Now, Mike, wasn't
day
the,
coverage.
the idea behind doing away with the revolving fund and going to the enterprise fund was that there was just too much money going into that ambulance revolving fund?
1%
That's right.
It's 1% of the revenues of the town, so it's capped.
Right, right.
Yeah, and we had to raise it, the board voted to raise it, but we're still gonna exceed it this year. So we need to go
Need to
to,
do something else.
you
I
know,
mean, just
So
that,
where's that money gonna go, the excess of that? I mean, is it going to putting money aside to buy new ambulances down the road, or what?
well, hopefully there will be an excess, and it's in a, it's the, I'm blanking out on the term, but it's
Reserve?
the fund balance.
It's
They
basically
will
a
have their
self,
own fund balance.
Right, so they're gonna have their own reserve fund, basically.
it's a self-sustained account that everything goes in and comes out is all ambulance related. For instance, if, again, we say we buy a new ambulance in a year, the monies are already set at town. There's no taxpayer monies going towards the purchase of that piece of equipment, that capital purchase. It's all out of that revolving account or
Right.
that particular account. Wages would be paid out of that. Supplies are bought out of that.
So do we have a 5-year plan on that, similar to what I asked for from the water department?
Not yet,
Not yet, but we will.
yeah, we're gonna need one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, so we'll
I
need
did
one
it-
to
I
be
did
able
it-
to show anything that,
Yeah, we did a 3-year initially when we were going through the process, so we can just update that.
how's your collection rate?
It's not bad right now. I don't have the number off the top of my head. There was some issues in the beginning that we were given, actually, Chief, you might want to speak to that. We were given the okay to go ahead and start billing. There was an issues with, I guess, with Medicaid, Medicare, that there's been an entire amount of money that's been denied. From that standpoint, I talked to a couple people, and we're trying to get that number to see what our comeback would be to Medicare, other than, sorry, you're not gonna get that $65,000 odd. Doesn't sit well, but there's nothing we can do. We were told, no, that's it. I wanna say
It seemed like our first 3 months that all of our runs
$65,000
seemed to
right now,
be,
they told us no.
Medicare, Medicaid-based runs. And we hadn't, because of a mix-up in the filing of the applications, we were well into the operation, and, Medicare, Medicaid said, not a problem, you can
Keep billing.
back bill these, and, we'll consider them for payment. Well, they considered them, but no payment. They said, you're filing late. Yeah.
They have incredible deadlines.
I mean, it's running, it's like any other, it's 45 to 60 and a few 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where the most of it sits. It's based on going back and forth with the billing company, because I've talked to folks at Comstar.
Yeah.
And it gets back down to that coding issue, Everybody uses a different coding system, I guess. Blue Cross uses one, Harvard uses another one. And it's a dance, if you will, to make sure that, so we've gotten better on our end as far as the PCRs that we do, or the patient care reports that we write up, to make specific comments into that, so when it gets billed out, hopefully they interpret what we're saying as a specific code, so it'll get paid out correctly. Again, we have no control over an insurance company saying, well, gee, Sandy, you really didn't need an ambulance ride. So you submit it again. And that's the best you can do. I mean, and again, you understand how that process works.
And then
It's
if you don't
frustrating.
get
It is frustrating.
and then you have to go back to the patient for recouping.
Yes, and that's one of the things we're working on now, that when the program was initially set up, from a collection standpoint, it was more of a soft collection. We're gonna work on that a little bit and retool that and step it up a little bit based on my previous life in finance.
Both of those ambulances are roughly the same age, right?
One is a 2003 and one is a 2004.
Yeah.
One has 102,000 miles on it, and the other one's got about 117.
Yeah.
They both
Yeah.
come out of the state of Florida and didn't have a lick of rust on them.
Do you have, because sometimes, usually you guys give us reports on runs.
We did 464 transports last year from I'm going calendar now, not fiscal. The projection on the pro formas was 375 transports. We did 464. We have about an 85% transport rate, which means 85% of the time when you call 911, if you don't sign off and not go, that's roughly what that number is.
Yeah, we did.
Which is very high.
That is high.
Yes.
In the calendar year of 2012, we did 1,208 incidents for the calendar year, and 549, which is about 45%, were rescue EMS related calls. So it's, what did we say, it was like about a 4%, 5% increase, I believe it was.
Six round numbers.
Which is what, when the one private contractor came in and analyzed our business plan, he had said to me, on the side, he says, you're gonna see an increase in the number of runs. And I said, why is that? Because our run numbers seem to be pretty consistent over a 5-year view. And he said, it just seems to happen, whether it's a case of where people feel more comfortable because it's local people, people they know, their neighbors that are, taking them to the hospital, they're more prone to call 911 rather than put them into the family car and try to get them to the hospital. And we've seen it. It's a complete repeat of what he predicted.
Yeah. It's
Gary,
about
you have a
24% above what the projection was. Like the pro formas had X, so we're about 23.7 ahead of that on that first, again, going calendar year right now.
Right,
'Cause That's
exactly.
when we started January 1.
Yeah.
We projected approximately 31.3% runs or transports per month. For the calendar year, we're almost at 37.
Yeah.
So it was consistent going forward, and I was looking at the transport numbers, looking at a year over year, January, February, from last year to January, February of this year, and they're right in line from last year at this point.
Interesting. Gary?
Will, maybe more to Mike, I don't know. When you were talking earlier about the per diem and the 100 personnel board, whether you need to be an hourly per diem, you think there's a possible in a suit. Will the enterprise fund, creating an enterprise fund, have any direct effect on that, or how the department is run, or how the people are paid in the future?
No, because it's separate.
No, it won't make a difference whether it's enterprise or not. We still have to follow the proper pay, the wage laws, whichever it's determined we can use.
Yeah, the per diem, Monday through Friday, 6 to 3, is always gonna come out of the fire department operating budget. It's the call wages that could potentially change.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
You could get paid 14 hours for a 20-minute call. I mean, $14 for a 20-minute call, or $14 for a. I'm not saying 14's real loud. I'm just throwing it out there.
you're right on target.
It's all based on
It's
the
just-
number of volume for that quarter, the number of people that show up, and so on. I mean, use an example for myself. I'm one of those people. I've gotten paid as much as, I think one quarter was $21 per call,
Yeah.
and I got paid $8.43 one quarter for a call, and that involved 3 MVAs that had 2 fatalities on 95. So, and I mean, that's the skew that you get based on volume in participation within the membership.
Right, because it's a matter of you have X amount of dollars per quarter.
Yeah, say for
The number of calls go
$25,000
in,
per
number of
quarter.
calls, number of people.
Exactly.
And that's how you come up with the per call rate.
Back into it that way. That's how you do
Yep.
it.
So we never pay, the way it is now, we'd never pay out, say, more than
100
and something.
16,000. It was 116,000.
Yeah,
Is the
I think
EMS
a year.
response?
I think that's
How
what
much?
it was.
About 26,000 a quarter.
26,000 a quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get a run every single, or a call every single day, you're gonna get really little amount of money.
Yeah, I mean, we've been on house fires for 6 hours. We've been on 95 for 8 hours. And, you know, you get either the 16, 17, 8, whatever it is for that particular quarter.
the other night it
has
was-
nothing to do with the call.
The other night, we were 3.5 hours
Oh, 95, yeah.
on that bus crash. We had a chimney fire the week before. We were out 2 hours on the chimney fire.
Yep.
So it, you know, that it just adds up and adds up and adds up like that.
Yeah.
That's where the problem stems from, is that, you know, are we in violation of Department of Labor standards for minimum wage? And that's what happened, as Mike had mentioned, in another town here in the state.
Yeah, that cost them a couple $1 million if I
That
remember
cost
reading
them
that.
quite a bit of money.
2.1 million.
I don't think it was that high. I think it was that high.
Is this is because somebody complained to go and back wages?
Yes.
So we're-
They had a wage claim,
We're not there yet, right?
that's right.
So we're being proactive.
We better fix
to-
it.
We're going
Yeah.
to
we
fix
get
it
there.
before.
Exactly.
Trying to head them off at the pass.
Yeah.
Any other questions from anybody? Well, thank you for all that you do for our
Yes,
town volunteer fire department. I still love our fire department much more than anybody else's.
Thank you.
You
It's a
got,
it's a great group.
it is.
And when you watch everybody, the way that they were functioning at the crash the other night, Deputy Moyer was in charge of the incident, and I'm watching everything as I mean, we had everything from Boston Med Flight to ambulances out of Peabody to ambulances out of Amesbury.
Yeah, I saw that.
We don't normally work with those people, but everything just gelled right together. It was really very inspiring to watch it, and you kind of feel like a proud father because you see all the hard work we do, you know, it pays off.
It's between us.
Well, that and we all come from a different walk of life too. I mean, the house fire on School Street. I got out of work and forgot to take my tie off. I had a suit and tie on, and when I gave the woman her cat and I was taking my coat off, she looked at me. She says, "You have a suit on." I said, "Yeah, I forgot to take my tie off before we came." You know, I mean,
I see you to
Yeah.
dress up for the cat.
but no, I mean, it's one of those. We all come from
Right.
different walks and
Absolutely.
at different times.
I'll never forget the Longview fire when somebody who was at the airport ready to hop on a plane to go skiing and they saw the fire on TV and they turned around and came back.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
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 Oh, you weren't here. That's right. You weren't.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's just
Oh, yeah.
people just came out
We all
from
just left work.
Everybody just left work and showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very proud to have you as our fire department.
Thank you.
Thanks.